Joe, and I'm just doing a quick video on the Redondo series. So I had one of the warriors from the tribe come up with a question. Said, man, I'm tricky. It's hard for me to figure out the Redondo. Is it the angle 2 line you're doing, or any backhand? Is it vertical, whatever? So let's dispel it right away. So Redondo is just a circular motion that follows through. So from the side, it's going to go forward, and my whole arm is going to try to do the work. So I'm not doing like a small circle with the wrist right now. I'm using the shoulder and the elbow this way. And I really want to emphasize a forward mechanic. A lot of people start to make circles and it gets very shallow. That is really good when you're in tight, but for the most part, you want to have a fair amount of extension on this. So train it going forward like this, that way. So the other thing is, the Redondo can follow any path of angulated striking. So we know from the footwork, if you look at the way an Asterisk is set up, or like your video game joystick, it can move in 8 directions. So the Redondo follows those lines. So the X line, the vertical line, and the horizontal line. If you go both directions on those, that will give you 8 directions. And footwork is the same. I can go forward and back, lateral this way, diagonal this way, diagonal this way, diagonal back, straight back, and diagonal back to the rear. That's still 8 directions. Just are the triangles on the ground, or are they in front of you as a template this way? So the first 2 basics you should have are the vertical forehand and backhand, and then the opposing forehand and backhand. So here's what I mean. Let's just get right down to it. So the first one that we have is just a forehand Redondo. That's the one I already did. Is vertical down. In general, you're aiming at the shoulder across from you, imagining your own body as the target. But it can also be dead center. That's totally fine. But it's got to arc in and move out so you don't hit your own leg and you don't hit yourself in the head, which I've done plenty of times, so maybe you can tell. Then if I cross over, this gives you the standard H I talked about last week. So if I backhand, same thing, I'm thinking about the shoulder, but you can aim at the elbow, it could be the hand, it could be the crown of the head, it could be the kneecap, it could be the foot. The whole idea is to be able to keep the stick moving, and again, I'm looking for extension this way. So you can make a quick drill out of this by just going forehand, horizontal, backhand Redondo, horizontal slash, Redondo slash, Redondo slash. That's it. You could double them up. Could be like triple, whatever it is that you're looking for. Okay, so diagonal Redondo is the same thing, but let's start on the backhand side. So now instead of doing vertical, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the head and I'm going to hit the angle 1 this way. Now it depends on the size of the object, but for the most part, I want to keep my tool in front of me the whole time. You'll see a lot of people, they go, oh, this is the Redondo, and they move the arm around the head this way. That's okay, but it's really, really slow. So yes, if it's very heavy, like maybe you'll see me do in a minute, but if it's something light, like a piece of rattan, just want to make the circle in front of the body. So the same is true on the forehand side. You can lean until you get used to this. Later you shouldn't have to lean, but I want to get out of my own way, and I go from the forehand side to the backhand number 2 line here, like this, okay? So as you train this, you're probably going to hit yourself in the back of the head. That's normal. So start out slow. Don't use anything sharp. Just take it easy. And I'm just making continuous circles here. I'll slow it down for you. See? So the backhand side to the forehand side. The forehand side to the backhand side. What did I just do? I just made the standard H again. So going to angle 1 from the backhand side, going to angle 2 from the forehand side. See? Forehands from the backhand, backhands from the forehands. And I can still go vertical, horizontal, vertical, up, diagonal, diagonal, vertical, vertical. Okay? Now let's look at a couple other options. These are in your basics. I just want to discuss those 8 directions in totality as much as possible. But for the most part, the 4 that I just demonstrated are by far the most common in any kind of set or combination structure, okay? You can also go horizontal, so I could go through the head this way. Okay, now again, I'm trying to keep the tool in front of my head. I could go all the way around. That's sometimes known as something else. We call that bacalao. That means like power shot. So technically it is redondo, but it's a much bigger wind up move this way. So I want to hit through the target and let my arm relax. Okay, and if I can do a forehand, that means I can do a backhand. So backhand horizontal now. And sometimes I'll drag it in at a slight angle, but to me it's still the same thing. And you should be able to do it midline, midline, low line, low line. That's it. So now we've got horizontal covered, forehand covered, diagonal backhand covered, vertical forehand covered, and backhand covered. So what's left is the vertical uppercut line. And most people neglect this completely. I've only ever seen Redondo and Inosanto do it, but I'm sure other systems have it. I'm just not that familiar with what everybody else is doing. So you're gonna backhand and same thing. So now it's a redondo coming down this way, diagonally across the body, or coming up this way. That's it. So I can go diagonally up forehand. I can go diagonally down forehand. I can go vertically down forehand. I can go horizontal forehand. Backhand vertical. Backhand to forehand diagonal. Backhand horizontal. Backhand as an uppercut. And then if you mix in the H, just a horizontal slash, you can get reps on all of them. So I could go like 2 up, horizontal, 2 up, horizontal, 2 horizontal, horizontal slash, 2 vertical, horizontal, 2 backhand, horizontal, 2 forehand, horizontal. That's it. So let's take a look. You might have seen some garden tools in the background. So let's grab those and see what we can do. So just to go into how multi-tool this should be. So if I have a longer object, sometimes something like this is good to train with because the weight will help you understand the principle. And that's the main thing in martial arts. You always hear that. You want to key into the principle. And what that means is you want to find the base mechanics behind the motion. Because it doesn't matter if I have a stick in my hand or a rake or anything, I should still be able to function with the same redondo series. So just to give you a couple examples, see now I could go horizontal. See, the weight is going to help me with the object. And I could go backhand, I could go diagonal, right? Diagonal the other way, that's it. So all that is going to help. Vertical, okay? If it's something smaller, like a pocket knife, and I just have my tactical pin on me, it's going to be identical. And when I train it in the air, you'll notice now the circles are going to be much smaller. And that's the main thing with the blade, especially like a pocket knife. The structures and the principle are the same, but don't buy into, you'll see a lot of people like, oh, abanico would take with the stick, or redondo, and it'll be this big slash, because all they've ever done is stick work, and they haven't done the knife. Same with the stick. If you see people and it's really short all the time, they probably predominantly practice close quarter, or they only use the blade, and now they're trying to translate it to the stick and do something different. So any abanico would tick, like last week I did tres personas would tick, backhand, forehand. It's just gonna be much shorter. And a lot of times these like redondo motions, those kind of things, they're to clear the guard out of the way. It's not that I'm gonna land like some kind of shot with depth. Those are gonna be like your openers, like your upward X, anything quick, using the wrist and dexterity that way should be more compact and really funneled down the center. It shouldn't be a really large motion now. So let's take one more garden tool. So I got the spade. It's a little bigger, right? So maybe this is like a 10-inch blade with a handle. Now I can make it a little bigger put a little bit of weight on it, but you can still see that the circle is going to be smaller. So whatever I have in my hand, I'm going to use the same principle throughout. So I hope that helped you guys understand the Redondo a little bit better. And nothing mystifying, you just want to play with it. The most common things I see is people, when they're using the stick, is they'll try to stop the travel, and then it feels very awkward. They're like, ah. Or I've seen people go one circle and try to stop. Anytime you circulate, just try to come back to your natural guard position. The other thing that I see that I've just kind of been a broken record on is people use their wrist, so they shorten the motion, but also how strong is your wrist compared to the rest of your body? If everything follows through, that's going to be a much heavier shot than if I just use my wrist. Using the wrist is okay. There's a lot of motions that use the wrist, corto redondo, that kind of thing. But for the Redondo here, we want to just cleanly strike through the line. All right, you guys, if you have any questions, please hit us up here at The Warriors. I appreciate you watching. Please, if you haven't, take a second, just like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. And we've been putting these progressions out since this COVID-19 began, and I know we're all in this together. But there's some really good momentum for the channel right now. We've had just like a ton of new subscribers every day, every week, and we really appreciate you guys out there. If you have any questions on technique you want to see or anything you want us to cover, we're more than happy to do it, and we just always love the feedback and the interaction from all you warriors out there. All right, you guys, talk to you later. We are out.